Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. Sorry it's been a while. Had some sort of stuff, can't really talk about, happened over the weekend, but that kept me out. I haven't seen really any boxing stuff, any news. I've been kind of out of the loop for a while, but I apologise for that. First off, almost breaking news that Jack Catterall, Josh Taylor 2 is apparently now a done deal for April the 27th in Leeds, albeit putting pen to paper. So that long-awaited rematch, what's that, 2 years ago now, is apparently done. I don't know about you guys, but if there was ever a proposed fight or a rematch that was constantly talked about, that I was absolutely sick of, tired and bored of hearing about, it was Catterall v Taylor. I mean, at this point now, that fight to me personally just doesn't really have much relevance, does it? Will I watch it? Yeah. Am I particularly interested? Do I care who wins? Not really. You just get, what's the word? I don't know. When you just hear about someone that long, you just like, until they're in the, I don't care. I just lost all interest in that. But hey ho, apparently a done deal, April 27th in Leeds. And we can stop hearing about that because, bless him, Sam Jones, one of my favourite personalities in boxing, everything he's on, inevitably that's the subject matter, and I'm bored of it. But, so we can move on from that now, can't we? Last weekend, Anthony Yarde boxed, had a run out, had a little tick-over fight, didn't he? Looked great in doing so. It does, and you guys know I'm a big Anthony Yarde fan. But sort of Tunde and the Yarde camp, they do have this thing of they fight in elite and then they fight almost, kind of journeyman level guys, don't they? Which I suppose, all fantastic for the highlight reel. And when we get Yarde's next fight, most of that couple of rounds against that guy are going to appear on that because he looked great, didn't he? As you can do against that level of opposition. But they do have this thing of fighting up here, then fighting down there. Fighting up here, then fighting down there. I'm sure they could get sort of a more consistent level of opponent, but, just an observation. But Yarde looked great, looked fast, they had superb reflexes. His shot selection was great. His combination punching was great. He looked really quick. A couple of times he threw a lovely, he disguised it really well. He threw what started out as like a straight right to the head and turned it into a body shot. Disguised it really well. It's a lovely bit of technique. Punches hard, doesn't he? Like I said, I'm a Yarde fan, bit of a fanboy maybe, but when I'm looking at what he does, it's objective. I just like what he does. The proposed fights sort of against Callum Smith, I'd pick Yarde. I'd pick Yarde for a number of reasons. If you go back to my sort of preview to the Beterbiev and my post-Beterbiev fights against Smith, you'll see why. I won't go through it again, but I'd pick Yarde. And then there's Buatsi. And the thing with Anthony Yarde is, at this point of Anthony Yarde, we know Anthony Yarde's level at this point, and there's possibly, I'm sure he'll probably still improve yet, but at this point, we know that Anthony Yarde can operate and compete, albeit not winning, but he can be very competitive at the elite level, as he showed with Kovalev and as he showed with Beterbiev. And as I said, I'm a massive Beterbiev fan, and I think Beterbiev said after that fight, that was his hardest fight, and remains so. So Yarde is a couple of levels short of being an elite. Is that fair to say? Because he certainly competed at the elite level whilst not winning at the elite level. Whereas Buatsi, we don't know, do we? Could Buatsi compete at that level? Could he ever be that level? We don't know yet. So, unfair to say. But again, I thought against Aziz, I thought Buatsi did do things that a more seasoned, higher level professional would have massively taken advantage of. So at this point, we don't know. But again, at this point, if I had to pick on the two, and I think if you had a fight between Yarde and Buatsi, I think Yarde would go into that fight with a higher level of confidence, knowing that he's boxed at a far better level, and may go into that with an attitude of, I'll destroy this guy. I've boxed better than this, and I've competed at a higher level than this. I'll destroy this guy. But who knows? But yeah, massive Anthony Yarde fan. Looked fantastic. Like I said, albeit at a certain level of opposition. But again, Buatsi, Yarde, lick the lips of that one, isn't it? Great. And even Callum Smith has a good fight. But I would much prefer Yarde. Moving on, Sal Canelo Alvarez. Seemingly now, I've defended Alvarez in the past, but it does seem quite obviously now that Benavidez, Canelo, this is the most obvious duck in, boxing in recent times, isn't it? I mean, more obvious than Fury Usyk for a time, but fighting the other Charlo. And to me, first off, Canelo sort of obviously what looks like to be ducking Benavidez. That shouldn't take away from what Canelo has done in his career up to this point. It shouldn't take away the level of fighter and the superb elite operator that Canelo is and his past history. But it does change fan opinion when you have a guy that, I think he unified at 168 in 12 months. And he didn't take 2 titles off one guy and he took 4 titles off 4 different guys in 12 months, I believe. So we shouldn't cheapen Canelo's, resume, if we do. But that's kind of what happens when a guy starts to duck a guy. His reputation and his standing does dip a little amongst the boxing fan community, doesn't it? So, and I think the problem with this is, and I've said this before, boxing suffers massively from a lack of structure. And really the guys who should take responsibility for the structure or lack of it are the governing bodies. And the WBC seems to be the worst. It's no coincidence that all the top elite guys, your Furies, your Canelos, say what a top guy Suleiman is. Well, of course he is, because he lets you do what the fuck you want, really, doesn't he? If you're a governing body and you're going to let guys sit on titles for 2 years without defending, or you're going to let guys not fight their mandatory and then pick someone else instead, you're not governing, are you? By the definition of the word, you aren't governing. And it's just, this is probably one of the biggest problems in boxing, isn't it? It's like governing bodies like the WBC kind of being the worst now, which, as I've said before, when you go back through history, they were the most prestigious and the most reputable. Now they're a joke, and they're producing situations like this. When you've got Canelo, and Benavidez is mandatory, isn't he? As far as I'm aware, I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, and even Munguia, like as much of a good fight as Benavidez and Canelo is, I think there are elements of Benavidez's style which could be tailor-made for Canelo, whereas I think from an entertainment point of view, Munguia Canelo is an absolute barnstorm. I think that's a cracking fight, personally. So yeah, it's not a great situation, is it? And I'm assuming that would be in Mexico, but Canelo sells wherever, doesn't he? But you just do wonder, don't you? Like, I don't know. Yeah. A lot of talk of Ben Whittaker and whether you have what your opinion on is on his showboating, and he's kind of, a lot of people say it's belittling an opponent, but I've got to say, you're going into a boxing ring and you're going to go in there with the intention to hurt the other guy. So to say that a bit of showboating is disrespectful, well, you're in there to hurt the other guy. Are we going to be worried about if you're in there kind of, in some quarters you see it as belittling him by certain antics in the ring? Who gives a fuck, quite honestly? I don't care. You're in there to stop that, aren't you? And this, Muhammad Ali done it. Nazim Muhammad done it. There was a lot of fighters that done it, aren't there? And I don't mind it. Like I don't mind arrogant fighters. As long as you're going to pay it off, I don't care. If you are going to do that, though, just remember, at the point when you do pay the price and you get beaten, expect the backlash. But do I see it as bad taste? No, don't care. Don't see it. I like arrogance in fighters. I think all the top fighters need a bit of arrogance. They don't all display it in that way, but some do, and I don't care. I don't care. Don't care. When you go in there, you're going in there to basically outman and beat another man up. Essentially, all right. I know it's boxing, but essentially this is professional boxing. This is prize fighting. So, don't get upset by it. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you all soon. Cheers.